WBAM fam, and welcome back to We Bought a Mic, a pop culture podcast, a pop culture Bella cast. We're back, boys.
We're so back.
Feels good. New pod studio, kind of. New setup, new equipment.
New ring on your finger?
Yes. I got married. Part of the reason why we haven't put out a podcast in like a month. Also, just holiday season, life happens. But hey, we're back in your feeds, back on the YouTubes, bottle of champagne, popping it open, celebrating suddenly being at the end of the year.
Yeah.
What happened?
Look
It's
at that.
crazy.
Look at us go.
And you may, the people watching, tuning in may notice, we bought some mics.
We did. Ernest, the listeners will also notice Ernest is really struggling to get this bottle of champagne open. He's
Waiting for some clean air.
Yeah, he wants to get the sound effect.
There we go.
Wow.
Also, new mics, higher fidelity.
New mixing board with a couple of fun new features.
Yeah.
Should I bust it open
you'll just
in minute 2?
You'll just have to wait to see what this soundboard.
Hey, da.
And
there are actually 2 pitas. I forgot. I should have loaded up the alternate to have both of them.
Hey, Ernest, who's your favorite character in the Hunger Games? No.
It's okay. He's first day on the soundboard. We're gonna be rusty.
Wait,
here,
say it
queuing
again.
him up.
Say it again.
Hey, what's your favorite performance by Josh Hutcherson?
You gotta give.
God damn it. It's okay.
All right, I'm pouring the champagne.
We're going to figure that out.
We'll get there eventually. Great job on the champagne that you picked out here. Normally, I hate champagne.
It's good quality.
I now realize that the only champagne I think I've ever had in my life is like $3 bottle of Cook's.
Yeah, it's not what you want.
This is not that. At your wedding, I was like, wait, do I like champagne? And I've just been drinking
Cheers,
shit
boys.
this whole time. Cheers. Salute me, married man. Ernie, can you hit me with a... Can you hit me with a little... No, that's not... Okay, that's not what I was... There we go. Yeah, there we go. He said it. Applause all around.
The wedding was lovely.
How did you not preload my wife on there?
We're gonna need a whole Borat soundboard.
Do you guys remember the
Let's
Jack
live
Black?
in 2006 and never let go.
You remember the Jack Black soundboard that was on the internet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that you would use to like prank call like a McDonald's.
It's like an iconic iPhone or iPod Touch.
Yeah. I used to use that into the wee hours of the morning calling McDonald's in like Alaska so they couldn't come get me.
Nice. That's epic.
Because otherwise they'd call the police on
Yeah.
you.
Talking about like Jack Black talking about like cock push-ups.
So today on the show, it's a bit of a reset episode. We don't want to fully dive into back into the Tom v. Tom series just yet because we are going to have to stop again for our big old Listomania retrospective best of 2023. It's already the end of the year. Like we're here. It's December, baby. All of a sudden. So we are going to give you a little bit. We're going to do the plan is to do one Hanks and one Cruise before the end of the year. Just to tie a little bow on it, but we wanted to ease in back after this break with a little catch up. So we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, including Poor Things, The Killer, Maestro, a lot of
Maestro.
a lot of new releases that we've had a chance to see. We've been watching a lot. We haven't been podding, but we've been watching.
We've been watching the screeners. We've been getting the boxes. Real quick, Ernest, who are you?
Did we introduce ourselves?
Nope, we sure did.
Oh, okay. Well, it's We Bought a Mic. I'm Ernest.
Listen, we're a little bit rusty, and I'm rusty. What's Mater? Is that the character's name in Cars in the Cars
Tomater.
universe? Yeah.
Tomater.
I'm Hunter.
What is mate? What?
I was thinking because he's rusty. That was just the only thing I could think of that rust. I always have Cars on the mind. I always am like thinking of like how can I bring
I thought you
the
meant
Pixar film Cars.
I thought you meant
into this
Brad Pitt's
situation.
character in the Ocean's 11
Ford
movies.
versus Ferrari. Oh,
Yeah, we got to shake off this rust, which is exactly what Alec Baldwin told his therapist. I'm Drew.
Did you see he made his return to public life in SNL?
And just sadly
Wandered around the closing credits. It was very
It's
sad.
very pathetic.
That's Lauren just helping him out. Speaking of screeners, you were talking. We've been watching. I wanna do a little show and tell. So I wanna. If you're listening on the audio feed, this is one to tune in for video, because I'm about to share a plethora of, for your consideration, award season physical media that we've been getting.
I'm so fucking jealous.
Ernie is making it like so very clear, like he can be bought, and please keep sending him shit, and you will win awards.
He's doing like a hashtag GRWM video. You know what I mean, on TikTok, but it's like, get ready with me to like be really annoying.
Listen, Ernie's laying it all out right now. Oh my God. I am looking directly at a Leonard Bernstein quote.
I can't even fit it all in the box right now. So I'm just going to try to. So I got this today, this Maestro box. It comes with the screenplay. They're doing this year. A lot of movies are just giving out the screenplay in a nice little print.
A lot of screenplays. Yeah. Not objecting.
The actual film on Blu-ray. This is gorgeous. This is the vinyl original soundtrack, music by Leonard Bernstein. Look at Bradley. It's Bradley all the time, baby.
Man.
It's
Bradley season.
This is stunning, man. It's a double LP. Oh my God.
That's
the music of Leonard Bernstein.
Sick. I've never seen them do a vinyl before, but then again, Netflix generally goes all out for these things.
And then this big old box.
Great sound effect.
That was nice.
Containing, look, it says Maestro on the side here, and it's a big old hardcover book.
Oh my God.
Some good art.
With, it's just a bunch of like making of. It's nuts. Absolutely
That's nice.
Nuts.
Beautifully done. The more stuff they give you, definitely the more confident they are in their movie, standing on its own two legs.
That is very true, especially for Netflix.
This is a Maestro bag, little tote bag that has come in handy. I've already been using it in my daily life, you know, storing some illicit substances, much like how Leonard Bernstein would like.
It's if I saw someone just walking the streets with a Maestro, bag, that's just like a rob me target, like begging to get robbed. You know he's got Kreitz in there.
Right now, it is just carrying more physical media. So this is the neon box set.
So that is my favorite thing that we have gotten so far,
including films such as Ferrari and How to Blow Up a Pipeline,
and including my favorite 2023 release, Old Boy.
Oh, have you guys watched Ferrari yet?
No, not yet.
I'm waiting to watch that in the theater. That's a movie that I don't want to watch at home if at all possible.
Look. I forgot to grab the Naiad water bottle.
Oh, I have been using my Naiad water bottle on a daily basis. It's a great quality water bottle.
Also, the Naiad towel blanket.
Is that flag?
What the fuck?
I don't know what to do with that thing. Is that a flag?
Yeah. No. What? Yeah. What's the material? It looks like a chamois.
Well, it's about a swimmer, so I believe it is like a wet mat.
I was gonna say it's not like feel it. It is not the texture of a towel. It would immediately get soaking wet, and you would never be able to get it dry.
Yeah, no, it's somewhere. Well, it's kind of chamois-esque.
A little bit, but not like to wash your body with.
Well, do you wash your body with your?
Yeah, I get my towel. I get my towel all soapy, and then I scrub myself. How else do you fucking bathe yourself? What, am I gonna get my whole body wet? No.
I'm wearing the May December shirt, a film by Todd Haynes with Our Lady.
Some beautiful artwork on the back.
On the back. Also girls. Comes with this Todd Haynes book.
Yeah.
That's like all about his career.
Yep.
Got the Barbie screenplay.
The rich get richer.
It
you know
doesn't
what I mean?
stop. And then look
this
at
is
this
messed up.
This big old stack of fucking movies. You know, this is
what whenever Christopher Nolan,
the ruling class.
When Christopher Nolan says that we are the custodians of cinema by by keeping physical media in our presence. Like this is what he's talking.
He means that you're like
thanking us.
He means you're basically a janitor.
Yeah.
The point of this is not
and
to
that we
brag.
just have like a lot of shit.
It's just to show people like the apparatus that exists around. It's like an industry within the industry. Like imagine how much it costs to ship that Maestro book to probably thousands of registered film critics all over the country.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy.
It's bribery.
Netflix does the best job at it, I will say.
Oh, it's so much money. Yeah,
Netflix is
Pinocchio
really flooding money into
last
it.
year.
I am wondering if we're gonna get something for Chicken Run 2.
Oh, you're still waiting?
Yeah, we haven't gotten anything like big physical box set, but that seems like something that would have like a big artwork piece. Netflix is just like, please, Academy, please give us a big award. We just want some low gold, man. That's all that we care about at this point.
May, December, screenplay, Fair Play, screenplay, Fair Play, the movie, Beau is Afraid, You Hurt My Feelings. Like there's just so many. So many.
I will say, and this is me being greedy now at this point. A24 sends DVDs and not Blu-rays.
They all do.
Not all of them. No,
I think
like
only Netflix.
does.
I think Netflix is the only one that sends Blu-rays.
I think that Amazon might have sent some Blu-rays. Or maybe Focus. Step it the fuck up, A24. What the? Oh, like you're fucking cash strapped after you just won Best Picture?
They're trying to get fucking old people to watch their movies.
Well,
old people don't have a damn Blu-ray.
Send a Blu-ray.
That's a good point.
Send a nice Blu.
This is also a really cool thing they gave us for Maestro. There's these posters where on one side it's the actual Leonard Bernstein, and then on the other side it's Bradley Cooper.
Wow.
I can't see the difference.
Look, it's amazing.
They're just identical.
It's amazing. Guys, Rustin?
Hey.
Rustin, anybody?
I'm loving this. This is speaking well toward my
Coleman Domingo season, baby.
my movie, or what do we call it? The movie wager?
The film draft, film league.
I got some rust in stock.
Look at those feet. Look at those Leonard Bernstein feet.
Do we see Bradley's in the movie? Are you embargoed from saying that?
Yeah, you're not allowed to say whether or not.
I don't think we get a nice close up like this, but I do think they are visible.
Does he wear prosthetic feet too?
Oh, I wish, like Hobbit.
Yeah.
Do you think that people actually watch every single screener that they're sent?
They're supposed to.
You know, I'm kind of bummed out that there hasn't been much buzz or any positivity about Dix the Musical, because I listened to a podcast interview with those two guys who made it, and they're really fucking funny.
You know, I've heard some. I mean, there's a couple like comedy people who I follow on Letterboxd who really like it a lot.
Well, it's people who are very plugged in. Like the dudes who made it are very plugged into like the Las Culturistas, like the gay Brooklyn comedy scene, and they're fucking hilarious. And they're apparently Megan Thee Stallion is pretty decently featured in the movie.
Yeah. I've heard that there is a chance. We'll talk. It's going to be talk about awards is going to be like intercut with a lot of the conversation we're going to have today with catch up stuff, but there is a outside chance that Dix the Musical could get a Golden Globe nomination for best comedy or musical, which I think would do really, really well for it long term. You forgot to mention that the CDs, that nice Trent Reznor Atticus Ross score for The Killer, that fucking hits.
Wow. Give me the champagne. These glasses hold like 2 sips.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was all bubbles that I got my first.
These are like the glasses that like old Eastern Europeans just like take shots out of.
This vinyl's my favorite.
The vinyl is really cool.
So nice.
The what we got last year that's what I was gonna say. We got Across the Spider-Verse on DVD. That's disgusting. Get that out of here. You got to watch that in 4K,
baby.
I won't do a haul of my final Blu-ray 4K shopping at Best Buy. RIP Best Buy. But I'm glad to know that at least the screeners are keeping.
Yeah, you had a good Black Friday.
Pretty solid.
Mine was non-existent. Except for this,
I was gonna say that's not true because I see your toys. You did it for the good of the pod.
I think of Black Friday as like going to a store, and I did not go to a store. This was all strictly online buys.
No one went to stores.
I went to stores. I went to the mall on Black Friday. Oh. I hadn't been to the mall on Black Friday probably since like high school, but there was just like a couple shops I wanted to go. I wanted to get some new shoes and stuff, and I was like, you know what, like. I want to be part of the problem. I went to the thriving, the bouncing Altamont Mall. And honestly, was
it busy?
Yeah, it was pretty busy, but it's not like millennia crazy where it's just like stupid madness. But Altamont Mall is a good mall.
Yeah, I worked there for a couple years.
Every time I pass by Vans, I say, Drew's old stomping grounds.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what on Black Friday, we were just sitting around the house. Me and my parents and my sister and my dad was like, we gotta go somewhere, guys. We gotta like. What's a shoe station? Should we go? And so we went.
Got these.
We went to shoe station.
Let's go. Did Leonard get some good boots?
He got some rubber Birkenstocks.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get shit. That place is horrible.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
I could have gotten like a Salt Life shirt or like a trinket or some maybe some Sperry's. Tallahassee's a great place to be.
All right.
Can we
go, Knowles?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the college football playoff decision?
Oh yeah. What happened?
I meant to warn you the other day when I saw you, like, hey, Ernie, you're going to be seeing a lot of confusing anger on Facebook, like from the locals.
People were upset that they won, but they didn't get into
they literally did not lose a game, and then the committee was like, no, you're not allowed to join the playoffs though because their quarterback got hurt.
Oh, that's so fucked.
Which is fucked up. Like it's
quarterback got hurt, and then
it's entitled Alabama fans that bitch and moan because they think that they deserve everything in the world. And yeah,
if we should check our
Governor Ron DeSantis wants to take $1 million of the Florida budget and put it towards suing the college football playoff committee, and that's not a joke.
Yeah,
that's not a bit.
Senator Rick Scott sent out a letter like demanding answers.
Just so funny. They're like, release the emails.
They're gonna do a whole investigation.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, right. It's really fucked up.
Maybe we can send them a Maestro bag, and it'll all be all the problems.
Can
will be
you
solved.
send each player on the Florida State
honestly,
football team?
It sort of is. It does tie into the way award shows work because you would not think that a sport would be determined by committee. But it is in college football. Well, like a committee determines every single matchup. It's
one of those things that's so idiotic where it's just like it only happens in college football where there's a committee that chooses it. Like, could you imagine what if a few years ago the Eagles were like one of the best teams in the NFL, and then Carson Wentz gets hurt, and they decide, actually, you're not allowed to go to the Super Bowl because Nick Foles we don't think is as good, so you're not allowed to go.
I'm gonna steal that argument so hard.
I've been using that argument just because that is like
your burner accounts.
Yeah, because I can't let people know that I'm making a pro Nick Foles argument. Like the bane of my existence, but it's the same kind of thing where it doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever.
Eat shit. Committee.
Fuck you, Alabama. Fuck you, Texas, to a lesser extent.
If we have any listeners in
go Michael Penis in Washington.
Fucking block them.
Yeah.
Mike Penis. Should I get a Eric Andre soundboard?
Can you get a Mike Penis?
We do need my dad's penis.
Time to deliver a pizza ball.
Hey, da.
All right. It's time to talk about some movies, boys.
Nice.
Damn. I was getting ready for a nice we now return to, and then like a funny cutaway TV gag.
Oh,
So go ahead.
So as you can tell, there's a giant pile of movies on the table. We've seen some of them. Actually, I think everything we are going to talk about I've seen in the theater that I've seen. Other than May, December, I did watch the disc for that one. But I'll start with Maestro because I'm the only one who's seen that one. I've been testing my take with you guys a little bit at the wedding and at some gatherings, and you already know a little bit about how I feel. I'm a little bit on the fence about this movie.
At his wedding. That's literally true.
He walked down the aisle and he's just like, babe, I just don't know. I just don't know if Bradley Cooper has the juice.
Wedding-related events surrounding the ceremony.
Ernie was not worried at all about his wedding, not focused on his bride. He was like, I just need to know what the boys think about my Maestro takes.
Bradley's on the mind, bro. He is on the mind. Look at him. Look at how much shit he sent me. Even though most of it I got today. But I did see the movie. I think was it the last screening I went to before my wedding? I think it was. I think it was
probably that makes sense because
yeah.
we missed All of Us Strangers because of weddings.
Yeah,
so that would make sense.
It was like a couple days before the big day. Chance the Rapper's The Big Day.
And your wedding was just about as quality, right?
Hashtag not my big day.
Hashtag, but I do love my wife.
I do love my wife.
Oh, giggity, 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 goo.
I'm already really tired of it.
I know.
You're gonna have to do a new soundboard every single podcast now. I hope that you know that.
This is gonna be hours of your life.
So Maestro, I really want to see it again because I think that when A Star Is Born came out in 2018, Bradley Cooper's last directorial effort, it took me a couple watches to really like grow to love it. That movie missed out on my top 10 of that year. And now I think if I were to revise my list from 2018, it would absolutely be up there.
That show was in my top 5.
Yeah, I think you were the only one to have it that high. I don't believe that it was in my top 10 either. I'm trying to pull up my list.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where it would land. I don't know. That was a really stacked year, so I don't want to say exactly, but I don't know. I think that's a movie that I could still find nits to pick, and that's kind of how I feel about Maestro, but it's a very different movie. It still has like the musical quality angle, obviously, because it's about a composer, famous real life story of Leonard Bernstein. But it's a very different movie. It approaches things not as kind of like it doesn't have as much fervor and like force, you know, and it doesn't throttle you through this story. It's a little bit more laid back and loose, but there's still a lot of energy in there. And there are moments where it really cranks it up to that gear that you know from A Star Is Born. There's one scene in particular where it is this extended sequence where you just see Bradley Cooper conduct an orchestra. And it's one of the best scenes of the year. I mean, it's incredible. It is cinema. It brought me to tears. It was incredible. So this movie is full of moments. It's full of scenes that captivated me and blew me away. But I do think I need that second watch to really figure out like how much this movie really comes together as a whole. Because the pieces are there. Like it's all there. The music, the cinematography, the acting, the writing, the directing. I mean, just the directing alone. Like Cooper is
he's got the eye.
He is proving himself. He is letting people know like, hey, I'm here. I'm here to play. I'm one of the big dogs. And whatever issues I have with this movie, you can push them aside and look at just the fact that like he is a talent. He is an artistic force.
Admit that he's a big dog.
He's a big dog. He's a big dog. I'm still struggling with like the issues that I have with the movie. How big are they? Mm-hmm. I still don't know.
Are you picking nits or are they actually like fundamental flaws?
Because this is a fucking movie. Like you watch this thing and it just it hits you, right?
So I was gonna ask, is this because I think I also have like some, I don't want to say serious faults with A Star Is Born, but there's definitely some big faults that I see in that movie as well. But I can't deny like its popcorn entertainment value. Yeah. Like it's a pop movie.
Right.
Does Maestro have that same kind of kinetic energy?
It's different. It's different.
I think it's not about a pop star. It's about a composer. So
it's a lot of it is in black and white. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is just kind of more down tempo, but it has its moments. There are some incredible moments in this movie. Shout out to Carey Mulligan, plays his wife. Really kind of heartbreaking role. Bernstein was kind of like I don't want to give away too much if you don't know the specifics of his life, but he was, you know, he got around. You know, he liked to play around. And the movie really gets into that. I think that is kind of like the core of what this story is about, is how this marriage was in some ways unconventional, in some ways strained, you know, into being this not quite like stock monogamous relationship. And he was just this larger than life figure. He became, you know, kind of this celebrity of classical music. I wasn't really that familiar with Bernstein, to be honest. I kind of knew him as the guy in Tar.
Yeah. You had never heard of Leonard Bernstein until that one Tar scene. You're like, oh, so that's who that is.
Yeah.
He also has his own line in The End of the World as We Know It by REM. They go,
you're right.
Leonard Bernstein.
Nice.
So,
and he wrote West Side Story, which, they touch on that in the movie. But yeah, it much like Oppenheimer, it kind of curbs a lot of conventional biopic cliches. It does get into some of them a little bit, but again, you're here for the Cooper show. You're here for Bradley, and he brings it. So I recommend it. It's out on Netflix Christmas, or a couple days before Christmas. Maestro. Another Netflix joint that is available right now. Todd Haynes' May December. Again,
rocking the shirt.
Julianne Moore, Natalie Portman, and a big coming out party for Charles Melton, who is winning a lot of supporting actor awards. Just kind of taking Robert Downey Jr.'s lunch a little bit. It looks like Ryan Gosling kind of left looking outside in. Why don't you take this one? I'll go after.
So I will say, I'm interested to talk about this to you more. Drew, I'm really, really interested for you to watch this movie, so I'm not going to touch on too much about it, but there is a chance that this might be my favorite movie of the year.
Wow.
I think that this movie is like a borderline masterpiece, and it's something that makes me really want to go through and watch everything that Todd Haynes has done. It's a movie that is so cerebral and psychological while also being hilarious, and it's really funny that this is on Netflix, because there's so many people that are stumbling into this that I feel like otherwise wouldn't go see like an art house Todd Haynes movie. But even down to something like the score is so melodramatic, but every choice is intentional, and the way that this story unfolds, for people who don't know, it's very, very loosely based off of a real life story from the 90s, I want to say. I don't have the timeline exactly pulled up, but it is based on a woman who is 36 years old, who falls in love and has sex with a 13-year-old, and she gets pregnant.
Yeah, the real life story is Mary Kay Falala?
No, it's
Follow?
Mary Kay Letourneau.
Yeah, Letourneau.
I don't know what the fuck you're looking at.
That's that happened in when was it? It was in the 90s, right?
That must have been his name.
Yeah.
She must have taken his name.
It was 97. If you want more details on this case, ask your mom.
Yeah, no, this was
she will know. She will have a lot of opinions about it, I promise you.
It was like the biggest tabloid story in the world as it was happening. And this is kind of taking some of the ripped from the headlines aspects of it, because the thing about that story is they had this underage relationship. She went to jail. She actually gave birth to her first child with him in prison, and then they stayed married for pretty much the duration of her life until she died a couple of years ago. So what this movie is doing, Julianne Moore plays that character, and Charles Melton plays the boy that she falls in love with.
Now a grown man,
who is about the age of Julianne Moore whenever they first consummate their relationship. And Natalie Portman is playing a actress who is coming to research Julianne Moore for a performance that she's going to give. So she's trying to like mimic her mannerisms and get into the mind of Julianne Moore. And it takes that kind of conceit, and where the movie goes, again, I hesitate to get too into specifics, but it is really investigating like, who is the protagonist in the story? Who is the victim? Who are we supposed to like really see ourselves through? And this movie is so much more complicated than I ever thought that it was going to be. And
it's a layered one.
It's something that like I have been thinking about like on a near daily basis since seeing it. I cannot wait to rewatch this movie, because I feel like on second, third, fourth rewatch, it's just going to keep rewarding rewatches as it unfolds. You mentioned Charles Melton, who was somebody that I watched this movie before knowing all of the hype that was coming in, and you walk away and you're like, oh, this is like such a dense and layered performance that he is giving from just like the dude from Riverdale. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the script is by Sammy Birch, who was a casting director.
Yeah.
This is her first screenplay.
Yeah. Which makes a lot of sense that she's a casting director because she's very in tune with actors and with the acting process and like what people try to do to get into the mind of the role, and kind of like in a lot of ways it satirizes that whole idea of what this is. Especially I don't want to get too into the specifics of where the movie goes to because it takes some wild turns.
Are the ladies winning awards as well, or is it just Charles? Because that would be really fun.
They're going to be nominated for sure.
That's pretty brutal. If
but it's funny because like the supporting actor category this year is so fucking stacked. Like I made my list for the critics group and I got to like 20 names easily. Half of them were the cast of Oppenheimer.
I was going to say, yeah, okay. Matt Damon,
okay.
Benny Safdie.
Well, but I will say, I think that it does make sense too after you watch this movie why Melton also is a standout, because there is something so like.
It's kind of heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. He is the closest thing to like a viewpoint into the story that we as the audience have. And also it is a true like ingenue, like who the hell is that performance that you don't really see.
Yeah, it's
you
a
see
breakthrough.
You see it more from like supporting actresses on the women's side than you do from actors.
Yeah.
Usually actors, we always talk about, it's like somebody winning an Oscar for their fifth nomination and something that's pretty mids.
This movie's getting a lot of praise. I think it's going to be in the conversation for the rest of the award season. I really liked it. I don't know if I'm as head over heels as everyone else is. I might give it a second watch if I have a chance. I don't know. I thought it was great. Like I don't have really any major flaws with it, but it didn't kind of sweep me off my feet. You know, it just, I was like, okay, that's a very good movie. It has an incredible set of core performances. I think Natalie Portman gives a really like standout monologue in the middle there that is just kind of an all timer. And I don't disagree with any of the praise. I don't know. Maybe I was expecting something a little bit more dramatically like sweeping or something, because it's a very muted movie. It kind of keeps things under the surface.
Yes,
it allows you to kind of do the work to unravel what's happening on your own, kind of thinking about the movie afterwards, and it doesn't really happen throughout the course of the movie.
Yes, I think that a lot of that's true, although I do think that one of the beauties, and this is like one of my favorite third acts that I've seen in a movie this year, just the way that things kind of do turn on their head. I think the movie isn't spoon feeding anything to you at all, but it's really interesting portrait of how Todd Haynes knows. He's such an expert at knowing not just who these characters are and trying to put them 30 years later or 20 years later, but the casting choices are very, very adept. Like somebody like Natalie Portman in this role as trying to play like a showy actress trying to make it. And then you have Julianne Moore kind of doing like the perfect Julianne Moore type performance where it's, it's very breathy and she's got a little bit of a lisp and like it's such a Julianne Moore performance. And then Charles Melton taking a guy who is best known for being in Riverdale, where he plays a high schooler, and then casting him as like, in a lot of ways, a 35-year-old man, but somebody who's like fully in Arrested Development, who never stopped maturing past teenage age, is so smart. And there's so many distinct choices that are in this movie that it really is just one of the most expertly crafted things I've seen this year.
It's going to be a lot to dig into as more people see it. It's on Netflix right now. It's May, December. It's Todd Haynes. Todd Haynes, a guy who I kind of want to see more of his stuff. I've only seen Carol, I think, and the Bob Dylan one that he did, I'm Not There.
You know what Dark Waters said?
They knew. They definitely knew, and they covered it up, but I haven't seen it.
No, I need to go. I need to watch some more of his stuff. I started to watch a little bit of his Velvet Underground documentary that came out last year, 2 years ago on Apple, but I need to go back and watch like Safe. Some of his 90s work.
I'm telling you, I think we would get like 8% cooler if we got really into Velvet Underground.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about it later, but I'm already getting into the Smiths. I feel like I have to do like one thing at a time.
You're getting into the Smiths.
Did you guys hear about them? Dude, this guy Morrissey, he's like, he's kind of a good
I thought that was
pretty good songwriter.
I thought that was like the brainchild of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I thought they just made up a classic rock band.
Are you some kind of murderer? Are you the assassin?
I might be the murder man.
Are we going out of order?
That's not a second.
I was like, we're jumping around too much.
So that's May, December.
Drew looks sleepy over there. We had to wake him up a little bit.
Another one that we got a chance to see is we called American Fiction, which is also climbing up the ranks of maybe sort of sleeper spoilers in the awards race. When we were done watching this movie at the screening, we kind of said, "Oh, is this the same smell that I smelled when I saw Coda back in 2021?" Because it does have that little bit of like late award season sort of, oh, could this be something? Could this pop? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get into it too much. I'll save it for another episode, but I also saw The Holdovers. Love The Holdovers. Might make my top 10. It's definitely in the running. Kind of a similar scent there of like, oh, could this be something that kind of breaks through the ranks here? American Fiction won the TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival Audience Award, which is usually a big bellwether for this kind of thing.
That means it's a lock to at least get nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. The Fabelmans won it last year. So that gives you an idea of like the kind of movie that wins that award. But then you sit and watch this movie, and then it's the kind of movie that's like, oh, how can you not give it the audience award? Because it's one of those movies that calls its shot. It's like, I'm going to go for the fucking home run. And in my opinion, I don't think it does it. I think it maybe gets like maybe a triple, that's solid. But it's going for it. It's a satire. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, you know the basic premise. It's a guy who is a writer, and I think it's based on a book. And he writes a book that is essentially a satire of the kind of literature that white people want black people to write, right. Or the kind
it's
of
the
stories.
whole thing of just being told that like he's a black writer and told like your writing isn't black enough. We need like a story that's just like speaking in like a certain dialect or from a certain point of view, and he makes a schlocky book just being like trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
And then it goes the opposite direction.
Right. It's a very well done satire. The escalation of events.
Drew, you've seen LaQuisha. What if it was like that, but it wasn't problematic? It was actually from the perspective of a black person.
LaQuisha famously
what's the hook?
The movie about a white guy podcasting as a black woman.
Yeah.
And how that's definitely okay.
No, but don't worry. A black woman comes in at the end and is just like, hey, I just want you to know, like, everything you're doing here is totally cool.
A-okay. I'm really, really excited for this one. Cord Jefferson is like a phenomenal writer.
Who is this guy?
So his resume fucking rules. Last thing he wrote, you may be familiar, Ernest, fucking Station 11.
Yeah, he wrote an episode. He wrote an episode.
No
the
way.
Severance City Airport.
He was
episode.
Yeah, he was in the room. He wrote
that episode.
He wrote Watchmen. He was a writer on Watchmen, writer and consultant on Succession.
This
Master
is my
of
guy.
None, season 1. Before that, I actually knew his name because he wrote for Gawker, like going back to like the
it says consultant on Succession.
He also wrote for The Good Place.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good Place. Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore. Like he's just been kind of I think that's another reason why this movie is being so warmly reviewed and
people know him.
Received is he's just a guy that everybody likes already.
So do we think that Jeffrey Wright is almost playing a Cord Jefferson?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
100%.
He's a writer that there's a scene in this movie where he finds his novels in a bookstore and he finds them in the African American Studies section of the bookstore.
And he writes like mythological kind of shit.
And he's like,
he's like,
there's nothing like African about these books. Like they're just like fiction. They're just regular fiction. Why are they in this section? And that kind of encapsulates a lot of the frustration driving the plot here. But there's a lot of things that I don't want to reveal that kind of add additional wrinkles to the story. Sterling K. Brown is in this film, and I think he is logging on as a supporting
He's
actor.
Officially running.
Yeah, he's very good in
which,
this
brother,
movie.
listen, as us here on Waves Island have been out here waving the Sterling K. Brown flag for years.
My mom on This Is Us Island.
That's a continent, bro.
Yeah, I think that's beyond
Everyone
an
loves
island.
Sterling K. Brown, you fucking bubble losers.
Oh, listen, I have this like crazy thing where like I kind of like Sterling K. Brown. I know, shoot me.
He's very good in this movie. When he
great.
comes in, the movie like levels up.
Yes, and I think that he's a very clear supporting performance, and I think that one of the faults of this movie is that it was just every time he left, it was like, oh man,
I miss him.
How much Sterling K. Brown was still here.
I think the movie struggles to balance its tone.
I think that was one thing that we both walked out of the theater saying is
Yeah.
that it has very big, this is my first screenplay energy, which is not like, and I feel like that sounds more negative than I really mean it to be, because it's really funny. It's got some great laughs, and
Very
it does
funny. It got huge laughs.
Yeah, and it does have some good emotionality to it that works. But I think that the pacing, not just like or throughout the entire movie, but the pacing within a scene is kind of clunky. Like there's an art to knowing, all right, here's a laugh line. Now we take a beat. Now we say something dramatic so that you actually have the audience has a chance to ha 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 ha. Okay, now I'm listening again. And there's some points where you're laughing at a big laugh line, and then like somebody says something, they're like, the cancer has come back. And you're like, wait, I think I missed something. What's going on?
Well, it's sort of something that happens in Succession sometimes. Obviously, that show typically avoids it, but it makes a lot of sense that you're saying that and he wrote for it, because also that's a problem that I had a lot in the fucking menu.
Oh yeah.
Which was made by a Succession writer. That movie, I think, generally
kind of an interesting comp now that I think about it, like kind of high satire. You know, like very like out there, satirical.
Based on every take that I've heard and just my assumption, I would assume that this is a tier above the menu. I didn't care for the menu very much.
I like the menu.
I know. I was lower than most people on it. Also, this movie isn't going to have as broad of an appeal, obviously. Like the menu ended up just like being a huge hit.
I don't know. I could see this movie really taking off, especially I don't know who is distributing it. Is it Amazon? Is that who it is? Okay.
Yes.
I almost wish it was going to like a Hulu or a Netflix, because I think it would have a bigger audience if it were to go there.
I think if people were to put it on, they would like it. However, I think a lot of like older white people are going to see that the plot involves like just the general, like the abstract idea of race in a way, and they're
going to say no. Middle America is
no,
out.
dude. That the whole point of this movie is literally about a very specific type of wealthy white liberal that wants to pat themselves on the back by
it's about woke culture and like kind of rubbing your nose in woke culture,
lifting up like marginalized voices. And it's like, oh yes, I'm a very good white person because I am putting the spotlight on the voices that are never quite heard.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'm a good white person.
I want to spotlight the black experience, but only what my viewpoint on what the black experience is.
Exactly. And I think the movie, I am very fascinated to see if this movie does get swept up into a broader discourse, like what all the different takes on it are going to be, because I feel like this movie is in some ways the next stage of representation in cinema, where there are very specific like visual motifs in this movie that kind of harken back to the way Black people have been portrayed in popular culture forever. You know, it's essentially trauma porn. It's slavery. It's gang violence. Like this movie leans into that so often in very key moments that it's not subtle at all.
Right.
And to think about like the history of you know, Black representation on on a mainstream scale, not talking about like more niche auteurs like Spike Lee, but just like the kind of movies that get swept up into broad appeal. Black representation is very much in a box. Mm-hmm. And then you have artists like Jordan Peele that are able to kind of blow up that box, and you get, Get Out, Us, Nope. And now this almost feels like another step it's like a sidestep, right, where it's commenting on like, here's where we've been and here's where we are now. And how can we acknowledge the fact that we have much further to go?
It's interesting that this movie is coming out the same year as The Color Purple, because I think both of those movies are going to be very much in the awards discourse, and people are going to be talking about that. Both of them have very high chance of being nominated for Best Picture. And it's interesting to compare those two, because like The Color Purple is exactly what you're talking about. The Color Purple is the traditional idea of like, this is what Black representation is in cinema. This is what it looks like in cinema. And what American Fiction is, it's funny. American Fiction is almost a better movie to talk about than it is watching it, I feel like, because what it's trying to say is much more interesting, which is saying like, why does Black representation have to look a certain way? You don't say the same thing about like white films, that like Marvel movies and Todd Haynes movies look different, but one is more representative than the other. Really quick, I'll touch on a couple things real quick before we get into some other stuff that both Ernie and I have seen. The Taste of Things. This is a French movie from kind of became a big sensation. I think Cannes this year is whenever it first.
This portion of the pod sponsored by RunP. If you want to take a break during a portion of this podcast, do it during the French movie.
Brother, so that is rude. That is rude as hell. Let me tell you, I know it sounds like it's like kind of cringy millennial shit, but like this is probably some of the best food porn shit that I've ever seen in a movie. Like it was a movie that was just like, yeah, no, I could have made it like 100 years ago in the French countryside if I was just like living in a castle and it was just me and Juliette Binoche just fucking cooking shit up and making 11 course meals for each other every day.
I'm kind of back on board.
This is a movie I just saw it a couple nights ago, and it's kind of a movie. It's a movie that sat with me really well. The first like 20 or 30 minutes is kind of exhilarating. Of the first time that they're cooking these meals together, it is so beautiful the way, the artistry that they are putting together these meals. And as the film kind of evolves, it becomes a story about food. Food is really at the core of this, but also this really, really beautiful relationship between Juliette Binoche and Benoit Magimel. I believe I'm saying that correct.
Good job. It sounded so right.
Well, I'm gonna say it was correct then. And about these two that have kind of been in each other's lives for 20 years and have had a little bit of a flirtation, but
for 20 years,
there's always been this like romance there, and them eventually trying to find true love together, and as they call it, the autumn of their lives. It's a really, really beautiful love story that
L'automne de los víveres.
Wow, that was really good. That was goddamn. Have you been on Duolingo lately? Holy shit!
Yeah, for like fucking Portuguese or whatever.
Yeah. How much cooking is involved?
It's like
you haven't seen it either?
No.
There's so much cooking at its core. It's gonna be on the short list for the best international film for me this year. I think that it's really, really expertly done. Like I said, it's a movie that's really sat with me well, that I'm excited to rewatch. I did, while watching the first 30 minutes of this movie, I was like laying in bed and I was like, fuck, I gotta go eat something. Like it's a movie that just makes you hungry while you're watching.
That's
and
you
went and made like pizza rolls.
I was just like, and now some Alouette cheese.
Yeah. But genuinely, when I'm watching people eat gourmet meals, I go and make like a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, they just like me for real.
Hey man, toast the bread.
I don't want to talk.
Basically the bear.
I don't want to talk too much about The Taste of Things. There's a chance it might end up in my top 10 of the year.
Oh, it's that good.
It's really good. It's probably, it might be just on the outside looking in, but I really, really enjoyed it a lot. I hesitate to see too much about it because most people won't see this movie till like February. But very, very good. Highly recommend it. The other movie is a movie that I highly, highly recommend to both of you guys. Right now, it is in my top 10, and that is Bottoms.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah. I'm in on Bottoms. I haven't even seen it.
Have you seen it yet?
Okay. You said you're in on Bottoms?
Yeah.
Whoa.
You're power bottom.
Bottoms, I'm in.
So this is a new film starring Rachel Sennett and Ayo Debris, Our Girls. And the basic premise of this story is that it is about two high schoolers, two lesbians who are just trying to get laid before they graduate high school. And they are going around. Ayo Debris, this is like the first like 5-10 minutes of the movie. The general setup is that she has a broken arm just from something that happened over the summer. And they make up this lie that they both went to juvie over the summer. And out of that comes this whole idea to get out of trouble. They say that they're going to start a fight club to protect themselves from the rival school. This whole movie is like camp to the absolute fucking max, where they're just like, the other rival school is like beating the shit out of our people, like our staff.
The football.
Marshawn Lynch plays their teacher.
I'm listening.
The football players are always wearing their football pads.
Yeah, they're just always wearing their football pads,
funny.
like running into each other. It's fucking hilarious.
Did you see Marshawn Lynch got an Indie Spirit nomination?
That's so dude, Marshawn Lynch is legitimately great in this movie. The whole time he's just like a guy who's just like going through a divorce and hates women, and then he sponsors the women-led fight club that he has. He's just like, damn, I love women. It's so goddamn funny. The third act of this movie is like fucking hilarious, and it kind of becomes like an over-the-top martial arts action movie, just kind of out of nowhere.
Sick.
It's really, really, really good. I highly, highly recommend it.
It's on my list.
There's so many like jokes that I like laugh about whenever I think about, and I don't want to say anything out loud because I want to talk to them. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys about specific cutaways that they have.
Bottoms. Big recommend.
The other thing, Bottoms, if you're just in for like a nice fun romp, check out Bottoms. Another light fun romp to just get the kids together for is the new Jonathan Glazer film, The Zone of Interest.
Quite literally the opposite end of the cinematic spectrum.
I don't know how we ended up there with that transition, but
I think this movie might end up in my top 10 of the year because it flabbergasted me. So I don't want to take up too much time because I'll probably talk about it at Listomania, but this is a challenging film. It is a very demanding watching experience.
I want to go back to Bottoms. Boo. What does this guy live next to fucking Auschwitz or something?
That's literally what it is.
What if he lived literally like you see the wall of Auschwitz right there, the entire film?
That sounds like a Family Guy cutaway. And he's like hearing things and he's like, it's probably nothing.
And his wife's just like, I don't want to move. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm getting relocated.
Giggity, giggity. Giggity, giggity. I had to mute the soundboard because I was hitting it accidentally. I mean, in all seriousness, this is one of the most like important movies ever made. I don't know.
Wait, hold on. And it might end up in your top 10.
Here's the thing is like, I'm building my list right now. You know, we're getting to that time of year. I everything I watch is like, is it going to make the top 10 or not? Like, because I'm pretty happy with my top 10 right now. So things that are falling out, they better fall out for good reason, right?
Oh my God, Ernest, I knew you were going to make this drink so strong. Jesus Christ.
I gave him the strongest one.
Oof.
Listen, Drew, you're getting sleepy over there. We had to wake you up a little bit.
Ours were not as strong.
Oh.
You're trying to get me buttered up for poor things.
You're gonna have to unmute the soundboard for that one. It's coming out. I already know. Every time Drew talks, he can't get anything in. No, going back to Zone of Interest. Ernest, you said something like that I totally agree with coming right out the screen, which is you said like this movie is not entertaining, I wouldn't say, but I think this is one of the most important movies about the Holocaust ever made. Like, this is one of the most true depictions of the Holocaust that you will ever see.
But you don't see anything.
And that's the reason why.
You hear it. The sound design in this movie is incredible. The score, I mean, it's unlike anything I've ever seen.
Did you see it in a theater?
Yes.
Yes. If you can see this movie in a theater, people highly recommend.
I guess with headphones in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
just anything. The sound design is truly like impeccable. So one of the things about this movie, and this is definitely something that took me a bit to kind of settle into what this movie is the whole idea, your preconception of Jonathan Glazer going into it. So I've talked about it before. Under the Skin is one of my favorite movies of the 2010s. I absolutely love that movie. I watch that movie every couple of years. And I went into this movie with this kind of preconception of Jonathan Glazer as a horror filmmaker. And because of that, I was completely concerned with like, what horrors are we going to see on film? And this movie kind of subverts that in a lot of ways because it uses horror as ambience. Yeah. It uses horror as just hearing gunshots in the background throughout the entire movie, just hearing like just screams
or a red glow in the sky at night.
And you know what that is because you know, like from history, you'll have there's shout out to our boy Danny, friend of the pod. There's a really good Siemens reference in this because Siemens built gas chambers.
See some nice engineering diagrams.
Yeah. So never forget Siemens.
Hunter will never
pride
forget
of Orlando, Florida.
Siemens really is the creator of the chemical haze. Yeah.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Oh no. Oh no.
That's so true.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Danny's it's a movie pod. Danny's not listening.
It's fucking deadly.
No, Zone of Interest, it's really incredible, like describing this movie, because it's just like on its surface, it's about a guy
and his family
who just have a beautiful home, and he's getting moved to a new station in a different part of Germany.
He's doing a very good job. He's a very good Nazi.
He's a very good Nazi, and to the point where they want to like move him to his new place. But his wife is so happy. They built this little paradise, and it's literally on the other side of the wall from Auschwitz.
Yeah.
The way that this movie, it never changes perspective except for one moment in the entire film. But for the most part, you are just in the mind of this Nazi, and the nonchalance with which it handles horror is something that I just found to be like one of the most powerful things I've seen in movies this year.
Yeah, it gives you this depiction of evil in a way that really makes you think about like our own role in it. It very similar to something like Killers of the Flower Moon. Too strong?
Yeah,
you pour more orange juice in there, baby.
Swig of tequila. Jesus
you got to
Christ.
swirl it up. Very similar to Killers of the Flower Moon, how it's framed as like, what is the audience's how are we complacent in this evil?
That's a great comparison
because
two movies.
One thing I've been thinking a lot with this movie is like, you know, the very literal like sharing a wall with Auschwitz. I think I talk about this with Lee all the time, where here in Orange County, you drive by all these lands that are being developed, and we are living through an ecological genocide here, where lands are just being destroyed to make way for suburban developments, and no one is doing anything about it. Like, obviously there's a push.
I'm doing something about it.
You are.
Thank you.
But
you wave your Naiad flag.
Most
protesters.
Most people are looking right by it, and I think that's part of what this movie is trying to depict. It's not a message movie in any way. It's not trying to. It's really just displaying something very, very locked off, wide shots. You're not in. There's not a single close up in this movie, I don't think. So it's not trying to kind of lean into anything too much. It's very much hanging back and just displaying these things and letting you come to your own conclusions. And one of those conclusions to me was, how are we any different from these Nazis if we allow these things to play out in our world? I think those are the types of questions that Jonathan Glazer is trying to get you to ask. Like, how can we know what evil is? How can we look at it and understand what we're looking at? Because these people in this movie, they're just living a happy life. They're just playing in their garden. They're having a good life, but they're evil. They're carrying out evil, but they're not doing it in a way where they're twirling their mustache and talking about like, oh yes, look at all the evil things that we must do. They're talking about like, oh, how can we get these numbers up? What's our KPIs for the month? Like, no, for real. Like there's such like a pencil pusher aspect of that complacency that you're talking about, where it's like, oh, it's just a job to do. This movie is just, the end of this movie, there's a cutaway that I don't really want to spoil, but it kind of touches directly to that of like, do we ever take a moment to even think? I didn't necessarily think of it in like the ecological disaster, like that purview, but I did think about it in like this way of, if you think about society and our, the whole adage, history repeats itself, blah, 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 because nobody actually takes a second to pay attention to the things that are around them and to the things that have happened before them. Eventually, all of these old death camps that you see just become museums that people pass by every day and don't think twice about. Like all of these things will eventually just turn into a landmark, just becomes a place and just becomes a whatever. It might as well just be a Publix on the corner of the street. You don't think twice about it as you walk past it. And I think that is one of the things that Jonathan Glazer is really trying to interrogate is, what is this? Why do we do this? I cannot. It's funny for how not entertaining I would say this movie is. I cannot wait to rewatch this movie and to revisit it, because it doesn't traumatize you. It doesn't give you anything that's like, it's not fucked up to look at. Going into it, everybody's like, this is one of the most uncomfy movies in years. And like, yeah, I'm not like saying that this is a fun time, but it's not a movie. It's not trauma porn. Right. Which I think is really important. And that's one of the things that makes it very true, is because for Nazis, it wasn't trauma porn. In the moment, it was just them just going on with their lives, just following orders. It's a big movie. It's very unique. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's the zone of interest. I think a lot of people are not going to be fans. I don't think a lot of people are going to see this movie. To be fair, like Joe Schmo, who's firing up Netflix, is not going to watch this movie. I think a lot of people are probably going to call this pretentious and unnecessary. And like, we get it. I think there's going to be a lot of takes like that. So we'll see what the consensus is. There's going to be a lot of people being like, well, why did he make a movie like that? Like, I don't like the main guy. I don't like that. So like, if I don't like the main character, then why do I watch the movie? Have you memorized any of You're just poking around. I've been By the way, is there one person in Poor Things whose name is Peter? Over the course of this podcast, I've genuinely been like downloading YouTube videos of stuff that I want to have buttons for, and load me up, baby. I'm really excited. I hit both of them. Oh man, now that's good. You're gonna give. Give me that. Okay. All right. So, Yorgos Lanthimos is back with Poor Things, a movie we've seen, a movie that is not going to be widely accessible to the masses for at least another week. It looks like it's going to slowly roll out starting December 15th nationwide. So look out for it. We're all big fans. We're going to get into it, into a little short, little mini deep dive here. So maybe pause now and come back to this when you've actually seen the movie. I think it's a big recommend. Safe to say we're going to talk about it again at end of year because maybe we all love it. I have some spoiler free thoughts that I can get. Okay, go. Just real quick. I do think like this is a movie that it's going to challenge most people seeing this. One thing that I can say, and if you've seen Yorgos' other movies,
It's okay to laugh while you watch this movie. This movie is one of the funniest movies that I've seen in years. Like, legitimately hilarious. It is a true blue comedy. There's also so much more to it, which we're going to get into. Emma Stone, of course, is like incredible. I think this is one of the best performances of her entire career.
I cannot name an actress who is better than Emma Stone. I can't.
I think she's got the.
She might have
got
the
the goods.
Yeah.
She is she has never been anything other than great.
Yeah.
In any movie.
It's interesting, like this year, because I can't think of any other actress who could play this part either. Like
it's a fearless performance. I mean, the thing she's asked to do by our guy Yorgos,
crazy shit,
is unlike anything you could ever imagine.
Depraved, some might even say.
But she finds this beautiful humanity in it. I mean, this is very much a riff on Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have made that comp,
and also the Prometheus story.
Yeah, and Barbie. It's very much Barbie.
Oh, it's extremely. That was my biggest takeaway watching it. Is like, this is like Barbie if you're like really fucked up.
You're a sicko, yeah.
Yeah, like it really is.
And she nails it, man. It's
mind-boggling the amount that she has to do in order to make this movie work. Even though like there's so much framework in place because it's extremely well written. It's the same. Hold on, who wrote this movie?
It's the same guy who did
The Favorite. Yeah, it's Tony McNamara, who also in between that did Cruella, which will ultimately be remembered by us as the thing that introduced.
I'm Cruella.
And the thing that introduced Yorgos to Emma Stone. The thing that, made the connection happen.
Well, no, because they made The Favorite before Cruella.
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
Oh, duh.
But it's probably what got the fucking paycheck to do Poor Things.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And then the direction in this movie is like fucking ridiculous. So this is based on a short story, I believe. It's one of those. See, the reason I didn't remember if that was true is because during the movie, I clocked that as something to note in my brain because I was like, I bet this has like big short story vibes. If you've ever had to read for.
Oh, it's a novel.
Oh, if you've ever had to read for a class or any one of those, like the best American science fiction short stories of blank, like I had to read a bunch of those. This has the vibe of like an expansion on one of those. Like it's such a weird fucking story.
The novel is called Poor Things: Episodes from the Early Life of Archibald McCandles, MD, Scottish Public Health Officer.
Cool. Is that like a new Coheed album?
1992.
If you're a writer, would you fucking relax for like a second?
Editing is important, Mr. Editor. Mr. Writer.
Writers, annoying people love colons.
It's this story is a journey. It's an odyssey.
It's fucking insane. In so many ways, it's like weirdly a traditional hero's journey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But just with the most fucked up context and backdrop imaginable. It takes place within a genre world because it is steampunk.
It's
this universe that they exist in.
Extremely stylized. I think that this is a really interesting turn for Yorgos as a filmmaker because Yorgos he's played around with the idea of like soft sci-fi with something like The Lobster. Then he's played around with like the idea of like more period piece, at least aesthetic, with something like The Favorite.
Yeah.
But this is taking, like you said, like a steampunk neo-futuristic view, but everyone's kind of dressed like they're in the 1800s. Yeah. So it's such a unique purview that this movie is going
It's just, my thought with that is always like, when you take on something like that is whole cloth, the entire world is up to you. Like, even if it's based on something, the amount that can go wrong there is fucking crazy. You could fuck up so easily and suspend and lack suspension of disbelief, and you fucked up your movie. This movie doesn't do that for a second. You're in that movie the entire time that you're in it. Aesthetically, it all makes sense. Even the wild shot selection and like camera selection. Like he's doing like fisheye.
Yeah.
He's doing these overhead shots. He's doing black and white and then color. Like he is directing the absolute shit out of the movie.
Yeah. It's nuts.
And it works so well. You're not because it's not, I don't know, usually a movie like that has so much variance in the way that it's presented to you, usually there's a problem there. Like usually like the director is trying to be like, hey, look at me, look what I did. But you're watching this movie. I think the perfect ingredient here is the fact that the story is so nuts that you are not overwhelmed by the way it looks, because you're paying attention to some crazy shit that's going on. You know what I mean? And on top of that, you're paying attention to performances that are matching.
That's what I was about to say.
And because it's not just Emma. Emma is driving the movie.
Mark Ruffalo.
We'll get to him. We got to talk about Willem because he. So can we spoil or what? Like,
yeah. People can pause and come back when they've seen it.
I will say one thing, and this is not a criticism of the movie itself, but it's just funny that I feel like Poor Things and Oppenheimer coming out the same year are going to go on to define like annoying first year of college guys for like the next decade of just like the yin and yang of just like, dude, have you ever seen Oppenheimer? Like, oh my God. And it's gonna be like, no, dude, have you ever seen Poor Things? Like, dude, it's like fucking, it's an acid trip.
Well, we're about, Poor Things hasn't come out yet. So we're about to see like how much this movie actually gets swept up into the conversation, because
it will not be
Oppenheimer.
It won't. It is funny. Poor Things will not be talked about.
This
by
movie,
people.
though, no, not by normal people, but this movie is like considered a lock for a Best Picture nomination. It's that is kind of insane to me.
I don't know. Hunter knows things.
I'm saying like
What do you want? Are you on Gold Derby?
No, but I'm telling you right now, I'll have a top 5, top 6
everything
spot.
Ever All at Once did win Best Picture last year, so can't forget that.
That's
this movie is like
there's so much. This movie is so much weirder than everything.
It's number 3 on Gold Derby.
I'm telling you, like, there's people love Yorgos, not just like the Academy. We have to think about how diverse the Academy is, how international the Academy is, and people just absolutely are head over heel for Yorgos. Now, do I think it's going to win? Absolutely not. This movie, for one, I think it has way too much nudity for a Best Picture win.
It's a fucking horny movie.
There is some giggity goo happening, but also also kind of gross if you're like horned up by this movie. Like tone it down a little bit if your Peter is acting up. This movie, I think that Yorgos could have gone.
See it though.
Yeah, no. This is what you come to the movies for, is for like somebody just going for it. I think after The Favorite, Yorgos could have gone in any direction that he wanted to. He could have gone more period piece, more like Oscar Beatty type stuff. He could have gone back to making something that is more lower, stripped down, like The Lobster, like Killing of a Sacred Deer. But instead, he was just like, no, I think I'm this generation's Terry Gilliam, where I'm just going to go make like the most wacky, insane shit, and you're all going to love it.
Yeah, because this is also better than anything Terry did.
It's got such a heart. It's got such a heart to it, man. Like this movie has.
I know you love The Fisher King, but
I mean, I'm thinking of like Brazil. You know, I still helping. Like
this is so good. This is my favorite movie of the year.
I think me too.
It is fucking insane how perfectly calibrated that this movie is. Like you're talking about like this making a college freshman annoying. It's made me annoying. If I were asked to talk about it, I would be annoying. And I have
bad news for you. We're on a podcast right now.
I'm asking you.
It's happening right now. It's finally happening. I was absolutely fucking mind boggled by the way that this movie works in every way that it shouldn't. It reminds me of a lot of my favorite media, like cross genre, where things that shouldn't work, what they do. I hate to bring up 100 gex.
You're gonna be like, this is the Pavement of movies.
No, because it's not. Because this movie is like it's putting in a lot of effort to be this good.
Right.
And Pavement is. You know what I mean?
Is this the Scaring the Hose of
Guess how many Oscar nominations The Favorite got?
It got a fuckload. 7,
6,
10.
It got 10. Yeah,
10.
And it deserved them. And this movie is way more challenging, but it's better. But also, The Favorite was a challenging movie.
Let's think about just off the top here for this year. Best Picture, yes. Emma Stone, yes.
Director, screenplay.
Director, maybe. Director, probably more. Yeah, more than likely. Screenplay, adapted screenplay is going to be pretty heavy this year, but I think probably that. Production design, 100%. I could see cinematography, costume design.
VFX.
Some VFX. There's some good Willem Dafoe's burps.
Sound.
Is there a category about like best dandy or best like fop?
Maybe. Well, the question is
Rami?
No, that's rough.
The real question is, is it rough or is it Willem Dafoe getting the nomination there?
Because Ruff is a bit of a sleaze bag.
Yeah, he's a. I mean, that's the fop portion, but also the dandy portion. He's a foppish dandy.
Mm-hmm.
Look.
Is there a category? Can we have a WBAMI category?
The best foppish, the Mark Ruffalo and Poor Things Best Foppish Dandy of the Year award. Goes to Mark Ruffalo. It's crazy.
I think Emma Stone is a revelation. I think this is definitely one of, if not the best performance of the year.
She's been gone for a couple of years.
Well, La La Land was 16.
The Favorite's 2019.
Okay. That was 18.
Yeah, that was 18.
She married Dave McCary, famously the director of every Good Neighbor stuff.
Cruella was 20.
Yeah, she had a kid. She had a kid with him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just
pre or post shoot.
Of the Favorite shoot?
No, of
Poor Thing. That's a great question.
It's got to be post.
Yeah. No, because she looks good in this.
Well, listen, you can actually look incredible post pregnancy. I'm actually an ally.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I think
so.
She looks.
You thought she looked incredible?
I think she looks very womanly in this film. She looks very dandy. Very fine.
We genuinely need to focus on the fact that her performance is one of my probably 10 favorite performances ever. And it's so fucking insane what she has to do in this movie.
It's so unique.
Because it's almost like if the audience has ever read Flowers for Algernon, for example, it's like the first 2 acts of Flowers for Algernon. She has to play like 10 different characters.
It's seamless.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, she has to have unbelievably varying levels of intelligence it's like an exercise in acting. Like this is something that you would be given as a task in like a Meisner effect class that you're taking in LA. You know what I mean?
Become baby.
Yeah. Like, play a baby quickly becoming an adult.
Right.
Like that's an insane thing.
And here's why I think this movie like transcended to another level for me, because it is a perfect alignment of plot and character where every single moment, every single scene is an advancement of her character and also an advancement of the story and the themes of the movie. Every new interaction, every new setting, every new element that's introduced into this movie, it does like double or triple duty, because it advances her character arc, it advances the plot, and it advances the larger thematic ideas that this movie has. And it's doing all of that simultaneously.
Yeah, I really wanted to. Yeah, behind Emma Stone, I love Willem in this. Don't get me wrong. And I love The Rough. We'll talk a lot about The Rough. But my second place MVP goes to Tony McNamara for this. Even ahead of Yorgos.
That screenplay.
Because this script is crazy. Like the idea of writing this, maybe he would be lower on my list if I had read the original book, and if so much of it was just taken whole cloth.
I have a feeling that it's not, though.
No,
maybe the central construct of, I think that this movie is very, very, very smartly organized in act structure.
It's
clearly is like, this act we're going to be in this location, and then this act we're going to be in this location,
Portugal, and Paris.
It's almost kind of acting like, the way that I've been thinking about it in time passing has been like, the acts of the movie are acting like her stages of development as she is growing from being infantile to like having awareness of self but not really of others, and then finally like eventually having this awareness of the world to the point that it becomes so overwhelming that you're just like, can I throw myself at this? Can I give all of my wealth to this thing? And knowing that it's like, it's a beast that will never be satiated, and there's nothing you can kind of do. And that's what one of the things that I think really does work about this movie, wider theme wise, is this idea of like how much of just humanity as a whole. I think I like kind of lost my train of thought there, but what do we as humans find in humanity?
Well, it's very Barbie. It's the same thing as Barbie. It's like,
because she ends up taking that. taking the injustices inherent in being alive. It tackles class, and then it gets into, well, why are women just below men, especially because this world is stylized to look old, even though it's like fantasy steampunk. Like you're looking at like an 1800s world, so it's like, oh yeah, she definitely would realize that she's fucked as a woman.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But it also like it's really annoying to sort of like draw the comparison of something to like an acid trip, quote unquote. But the reason that this movie is genuinely similar to some sort of psychedelic experience is because chemically what psychedelics do is they mix the synapses in your brain in such a way as that you are experiencing things as
a child,
as if it was your first time. And so you'll look at a tree and think, what the hell? That's great. Oh my God. Which is when you were like 4, that's what you thought of a tree. Right. But now you've just seen a million. And this movie is seeing existence through the eyes of someone who is seeing it for the first time, but is smart.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. The other giant writing triumph in this movie is, and I'm sure that part of, some of this is definitely in the original novel, but it's the evolution of her vocabulary.
Yes.
Is awesome. It is so fucking fun. Like, I want to get my hands on a copy of the script of the movie. Because do you in your fucking pile of shit over here?
Send us the poor things.
I don't know what the hell. What studio is this?
It's because they know.
It's A24. A24. Step the fuck up.
It is so cool because.
Oh wait, no, it's not A24. I'm sorry. It is Searchlight. It's a Searchlight movie.
Step it up.
It goes beyond. So
Disney.
So her like the evolution of her vocabulary goes beyond like from smart to dumb, the way that something like Flowers for Algernon goes. This is not someone who's going or dumb to smart. I mean, this isn't someone who is just stupid. It's someone who doesn't know words.
Right.
And like they say,
doesn't know anything.
Yeah. So they say really early on in the movie, like, oh yeah, she's gaining like 15 words a day or something like that. And so she is experiencing and feeling really complex things because she is an infant's brain being put into an adult's body, which we haven't even mentioned. But like, because
that's so fucking
I know,
crazy.
But because that's what she is, she's experiencing things on a level that no one ever has in terms of like having the capacity to feel it, but not having the words yet. And so it's almost like Mad Libs in the beginning of the movie. Like it's her just taking words she knows and trying to ascribe them to what she's feeling. And the slow evolution of that as the movie goes on to the very end where she is just like a highly intellectual, like well-spoken person. It is so fucking fun to imagine writing this movie. And
to see her do it. That's
of course thing. Yeah, because she's also, I mean, because Emma's also delivering all these different levels.
He must have written it for her.
It's phenomenal. Like the idea of her, so this is because at a certain point, pretty early in the movie, we get the idea where like she is smart, even though she doesn't have words yet. I can tell she's smart. But she doesn't have any vocabulary. So you just it was making me like almost like syntactically like think about like how we say sentences when you're watching this movie, because you're like, I guess we all are just kind of putting words together that we know from moment to moment when we talk. It's
what we're doing right now.
Yeah, like it's such a cool fucking idea.
Certain motions or certain once she starts to develop herself sexually, like the whole idea of exploring.
Exactly.
That's what the idea of sex in this movie has been something that I've been thinking about a lot, because that is like pretty much an act of this movie is just like Emma Stone just like
banging it out.
Like I need to constantly be touching myself or having other people just like fucking diddle me. Like it just does fuck all the time.
We've all been 12.
Exactly.
That's kind of the whole thing.
It's her being like a teenager.
And that's something that I feel like is going to 100%, as this movie does get released to the masses, like there's going to be some awful Twitter takes of just like, this is basically a child having sex out here. And everything. It's like, I'm already ready for that kind of discourse that's going to come, which is like, shut the fuck up. But like
Yorgos is a pervert.
It's that idea of taking this, what is like we as humans evolved, and I feel like in a lot of ways, like her story isn't just like the individual human story, but the story of the human race is we start in this from this point of just not being able to communicate with each other. We're basically animals just groveling around on the ground together. And then eventually we get the urge where we're just like, something feels good. I'm just going to keep doing this until this doesn't feel good. I'm just going to fucking keep hitting this over and over again until it stops giving the same sensation. And eventually you yearn for more. You yearn for growth, not just like...
Well, she goes from the physical to the intellectual.
Yeah, that's what
I learned from this movie, is that some people evidently have moved on from this. Like fucking checking their shit.
You were just doing that in the theater next to me the whole time, and I was kind of like,
you haven't met Gerard Carmichael, so you're not going to be opened up to that just yet.
So Gerard Carmichael is one of the low-key MVPs of the movie. I love that whole, I think it's the third act of the movie,
the cruise, the boat.
Where I think that's where the movie kind of levels up a bit from just becoming like a fun comedy with some great performances from Emma Stone to Mark Ruffalo to a point where it is trying to say something wider about society.
It says that in her evolution of interacting with him, where at first he fascinates her. Like she's like, whoa, this guy is like, he looks down upon everything.
Yeah.
Like
at first she's like, we have sex now. And he's just like, no, honey.
Yeah. And he's just generally like a hater. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, yeah, no, actually that's bad. Like he feels that way about everything. And so in that way, he introduces the idea of judgment to her, but like a week later or whatever, she's smart enough to realize that that's actually like a defense mechanism in this guy, and he's actually just a hater for everything, even when he shouldn't be.
Right. And she realizes that nihilism is not the way. Like this guy is just like, you can sit here and just be cynical of everything that is happening around you, but like, or you could try to do something to better yourself. And maybe that doesn't mean like, I'm going to take all of my money and just give it to the poor, because that's not a smart thing to do with yourself anyways.
And so I think the reason that this script is so cool to me, and I wish that I had found like a legit like shooting script copy of it, is because the fact that her vocabulary is limited and evolving means that like Emma Stone's Bella is given the opportunity to distill these ideas of what she is feeling when she meets these people to like the purest possible sentence.
Yeah.
Of like
cuts to the bone.
Yeah. And it works every time. Yeah. Like, because it's done well. Yeah. It's done really smartly. It is so incisive. Like I was absolutely mind boggled by the idea of trying to tackle, okay, she only has so many words, and I don't need that many words to get to the bottom of like why nihilism isn't the way to go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's cool.
Well, it's one of those things.
It operates in the context of a movie because you're compressing everything into this runtime, and so it makes sense for her to evolve faster, for her mind to evolve faster, because we're seeing it's like the experience that she's having is in tandem with our experience as the audience of watching this compressed thing of this 2-hour experience, where you have to distill things to a single word or a single feeling, because you only have so much time in a single scene to convey who these characters are.
It is funny though, because it's almost like, again going back to that like maturing version, it's almost about like reminds me of how like middle schoolers are like the meanest people that you will ever meet in your entire life, that they will like point out. It's the John Mulaney bit about they'll point out like your deepest insecurities with one sentence, and you're like, oh my god, what? Like she says something very early on in the film to Rami, and I can't remember exactly what he says, but she essentially just like, you're too nice. You're too like soft, weak boy. And I want to go on a fun adventure with rough man. Like, it's like, that's essentially just what's said. And Rami's just like, well, what? I'm just like a little boy over here. And like,
he's so good in this.
Rami's incredible.
Yeah.
Everyone rocks.
Rami Youssef of Rami, the show, Wreck. He does a great job. This is, I would say, his part. It's not his fault or anything, but his part is the part that could most like be given to a variety of different people, because he's playing a pretty broad type. That said, he does a really good job with what he's given.
Absolutely.
Now, we need to talk about, outside of like the arc of what Emma goes through, the general vibe of the movie, because
it's bonkers.
Because Willem Dafoe is playing.
It starts in black and white.
Yeah,
with Willem Dafoe,
and he's playing a sort of renowned, surgeon inventor who
scientist man.
Yeah, who burps up like these like
it's
these
very
viscous like bubbles.
It's very Twin Peaks: The Return, episode 8. Like that's where the vibe is of the first part is like and just like burping up gas bubbles.
Yeah,
the entire aesthetic was very Lynchian.
And so if you're listening and you haven't seen this movie, I genuinely hope that like you stop right now, because the half of the joy of this movie is having no idea where it's going to go, because like we start in a world that feels fully developed by Yorgos. Like it feels whole. It's self-contained. I thought the whole movie might just be self-contained in this fucking house.
Yeah.
It's a really lush.
I mean, a lot of it is.
Yeah, I know, but it's a really lush, like interesting landscape inside the house. And then, by Act 2, she's out of it. And I was almost disappointed. I was like, I want to hang out with Willem and Rami more, and every time we cut back to them, it's really fun. But like, I was
seeing our girl Margaret Qualley in there.
Yeah, but I was, I was over the moon with like where Emma ends up with Ruffalo, because another thing that's a delight is when you're introduced to him, you don't know how, Ruffalo is a guy who genuinely does sometimes come in for 1 or 2 scenes in a movie. And
it kind of feels like he should be only in like a scene or 2 of this movie. And then it's like, well, you can't get rid of this guy. Like you cannot stop
he's
this.
He's throwing heat, man.
Fucking so
it's his best performance since Zodiac. Like I think
it's his best performance ever.
I think it's in like my top 3 for him ever.
So
it's incredible.
This is where the parallel, because the first part of the Barbie parallel is that like she goes through this, this sort of evolution of self-realization and like about like the patriarchy and how she is oppressed.
And he's just Ken.
He's Ken. He's
horny Ken.
He wants to fuck her so bad. This whole movie, and he is for a while.
Ruins his life.
He is for
loses all his money.
I really thought a lot about Ruffalo's performance after this movie.
He's so good. I'm so happy he's back.
In the same way that I thought about Gosling as Ken, because like one of the triumphs of Barbie is Gosling gets like whole theater laughs a lot of the time. And that matters a lot in a movie like Barbie that's packing theaters.
Yeah.
I don't know so much about Poor Things. However, anytime that Ruffalo has the chance to say something in a really funny way that isn't just funny to like, people who are looking out for like persnickety funny things. It's just funny. He's so funny.
It's so big.
Yeah. He's broadly funny.
In a movie full of like big, broad performances, he is going for it in a way it's just an absolute joy.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's something
going
that
huge.
Honestly, I didn't think Ruffalo had it.
No, exactly. I was like, Mark,
that's something. Willem Dafoe is incredible in this movie, but also it's Willem Dafoe knows how to do this.
We know he can do it. He's
like,
daddy.
He knows what he's doing. He's just like, this is the steampunk version of The Lighthouse. Like, this is what I'm going for right now. But I did not know that Ruff had this in him.
I have Ruffalo's IMDb pulled up here, so I just want to go through this just so we can see like his arc the last like decade and a half. Okay, so Zodiac is 2007.
Yeah.
Then he pops up in Blindness and Brothers Bloom in 2008.
Nice.
He has a part in Where the Wild Things Are, Spike Jonze, 2009.
You didn't want to take a pause to talk about Brothers Bloom? I know you're
Ryan Johnson.
You're such a Johnson head.
He's with our girl Julianne Moore in The Kids Are All Right in 2010. And then with Leo in Shutter Island, also 2010.
I forgot that he's in Shutter Island.
With duly appointed federal marshals. No?
Yeah.
And then it comes in Avengers 2012.
Yeah.
Now You See Me 2013.
Okay.
He has Begin Again also that year, and then Foxcatcher 2014. Avengers Age of Ultron.
Man, Foxcatcher, a movie that has no cultural resonance whatsoever.
Avengers Age of Ultron and Spotlight.
Yeah.
They knew in 2015.
And that's an Oscar nom
for Spotlight? I believe he gets the nom, yes.
Yeah, I'm double checking right now.
Then Now You See Me 2 in 2016, and then boom, back to back, Thor Ragnarok 2017, Avengers Infinity War 2018, Avengers Endgame 2019.
Unlimited money.
Like stacks.
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
Generational. He was already generational, but
Dark Waters 2019.
Hey, Todd Haynes crew.
And he's been coasting since 2019. I mean, he pops into something called I Know This Much Is True, where he plays twins. That was a TV show. He does some voice work on Disney Plus for What If, something called The Adam Project, which is a fake Netflix movie. He pops into the She-Hulk series on Disney Plus.
500 billion people have watched.
And now finally it's like, all right, we're back with Poor Things. So it was a lot of just kind of like, let me make my money for a little while, and it's like, all right, now I'm back.
Yeah. It's a perfect reintroduction to Mark, because
it is funny him and RDJ both having this year.
Exactly.
Didn't they just do a roundtable together?
Vanity Fair one.
I haven't listened to it yet, but I mean, it is incredible that both of them are like, man, look at us, we made it, while Disney is like on money. Fire right now. Like, we cashed out, brother. Got out the table while it was hot.
He's so fucking awesome in this. His accent is all over the place. And it doesn't matter.
The transatlantic accents in this movie are kind of insane.
Well, and he's also British on top of like old fashioned. He's a British character. Not sure why, but it works. And his accent isn't, it doesn't stay steady throughout the movie.
You know what?
His character absolutely does.
I think I almost took him in this movie, like, because it kind of disappears as the movie goes on, and I almost took it as like the way he's a fucking sleazebag like the moment that you see him, but he's like trying to be sophisticated, so he's such a dumb guy that he's just like, you know what's smart? British accents. You have British accent that make you sound smarter. So he like tried to give himself a fake British accent, and it just kind of goes away as the movie goes on.
He's so fucking like, I don't know. It's a role that you think is just going to go away, and then we're going to go back to this world in this house, and then the whole. I'm telling you, the half of the delight of this movie is the absolute surprise from moment to moment, because it's
scene to scene. Yeah,
this movie's a treasure, man.
Back to your Ken comp though, I think the laughs, just like Ryan Gosling in Barbie, like the micro expressions, like little takes that he does, that's the same thing with Mark Ruffalo in this movie. Like he'll just throw in a reaction, and it's just the Yorgos will decide to just cut to him for a moment, and he'll do something, and it's the funniest thing you've ever seen.
And on top of that, he is used as a weapon to like punctuate every scene because he's funny. Like they give him the line that ends the scene because he's just fucking killing. He's killing, and it's not outshining in any way Emma, because she also, by way of her sort of her extreme, feeling, but her lack of vocabulary is generating a zillion laughs over the course of the movie. Like she, you know what I mean? This is an unbelievably funny movie. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, but it also is like smart and poignant and and it takes place in a fucking fantasy world.
I think this is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
That's what I'm saying. The production design is crazy. The VFX shots, some of the exteriors, I said after we watched it, don't even necessarily look quote unquote good. Like they don't look real when it zooms out and they're like on like a like a floating fucking ship practically.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It almost adds to it for me because like we're in such a non-Earth reality that like it sort of works that they're existing in this like PS2 world. Like it all just makes sense. The lighting, the sky is so vastly different in every single scene. So you might be watching a scene and it's like pink.
It's like a storybook
shining down on everyone. It's orange or it's like black or blue. Like it's just gorgeous. It's so cool to watch. They go to different cities. It almost has like a Dr. Seuss style simplicity to the cities they go to.
The like shapes.
It's kind of, it's almost as like some Rube Goldberg shit going on. If you like look in the background, you're like, what am I looking
or like
at right here?
Or like there in particular, because the production design just across the board is crazy. In Defoe's house, it's out of this world. Another random example is when they're on the boat in Ruffalo's room. Like they took the time to make this unbelievable like wood etching on the walls behind them.
Luxurious.
And it's just one of those things where like if you look, you're gonna find something awesome. But if you don't, like you don't. You know what I mean? Like it's a marking of like a great work.
Ruffalo said in that Vanity Fair video with RDJ that Yorgos had him wear like all kinds of padding. Like he had to wear like a corset to bring in his figure and like pads on his waist to bring out his booty,
his gat,
and then pads on his shoulders to bring out his frame. And he was talking about how like Yorgos just had a very clear idea of how he wanted everyone to look on camera. And then think about Emma, like her hair is so long, you know, like I've never seen hair that long. It's almost goes all the ways down to her feet. So it's not just the sets, right? He's also calibrating like the look of these people, of these costumes, these actors to exactly
the
what
makeup
he wants.
is really interesting in this movie because a lot of the stuff is very washed out, but then also it will drastically change. And it is a lot of like almost like bad makeup, especially from Emma Stone's perspective as the movie is going on. And
but it fits with the world.
Mm-hmm.
It all makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, even when you get to the end with the in Paris with the brothel,
right?
Yeah, like all of that. That whole section blew my mind because that's where you really start to get some of the beauty of this story. Because up until that point, I was thinking like, okay, this is really funny. This is really raunchy. There's a lot of sex. There's a lot of laughs.
It kind of turns the whole idea of what sex is and what womanhood is on its head a little bit.
Well, it's this idea of her just through her own experience. It's not even an outside influence, realizing that it's not just about getting off. It's not just about fucking. It's about like building a connection. And so all these clients that she has as a sex worker, she wants to connect with them. She wants to laugh with them. She wants to get to know them. And that's so much of what she values in her experience as a much more elevated intellectual being. And I think that's so beautiful for this movie to go to those places where it's not just satisfied with telling this story of Emma Stone baby, Emma Stone funny as baby, Emma Stone naked. You know, it's not satisfied with just like
does she
the
get
baseline.
Naked in this movie?
Oh
no. It's not satisfied with just like the baseline of this concept. It takes it up a notch and it goes further and it explores these much deeper ideas. And that's what puts it into that all-timer 5-star masterpiece for me, is that it does all the things that you expect it to do, you know, especially coming from Yorgos, but then it does more. I think this is Yorgos' best movie by a mile because it does everything you expect him to do. It synthesizes all his talents and gives you something beautiful to look at, but then thematically it sings, man. It's so resonant.
So the one thing with this movie, I think one reason why I do need to rewatch this, I'm here with you guys, brother. I'm here on Poor Things Island. Don't you get me wrong.
Sounds like he's not.
But I'm not gonna throw a butt on there.
Sounds like you've got one leg on a boat
that's like pulling me away. No, the one thing is I will say is that I think for the most part, this movie has incredible pacing. I think that's really, really, really well edited and well written. Like it knows when it is time to move to a new act. The Christopher Abbott stuff at the end didn't really work for me. I think that was the only point in the movie where I've heard some criticism of this movie where a lot of people are like, oh, we get it. And I don't feel that way about most of the movie. I think that kind of the redundancy is very purposeful in a lot of it. Like we need to kind of keep learning the lessons over and over again in some instances, because that's what is the point.
It does feel like it keeps going.
Yeah. I think that is the only point. Whenever we get to the Christopher Abbott stuff was the only thing where I was like, did this really add anything?
We could have wrapped it up. Yeah.
Did this add this whole sequence add anything to this movie, or could we have gotten out of here 20 minutes earlier and this meant a little bit tighter?
I think that's
like
add...
I'm picking nits. I would only pick nits in a movie like this because I love it and like because it's something that I do treasure, and I think this is like easily one of the best movies of the year, one of the best movies of the 2020s. But that is one thing that I was like, I don't really know if I love Christopher Abbott in general. I don't really know if I fully need his character. Like I kind of got the vibe that like she wasn't happy with her life and that's why she killed herself. I don't think I needed them to like rekindle that old flame and then us go back through the motion.
I didn't see it as much as like it definitely is.
Aside from like having the cutaway joke of like he's now dog or lamb or goat or something, whatever he is. Yeah.
I didn't see that as much as, you know, the literal like husband of her old self coming back. I saw that more as just he represents the final boss, and Bella is now in her final form, and she has to go up against the final stage of her journey, and every single stage of that journey has had a significant male presence. You know, she starts out with Willem Dafoe, then she goes to Rami, then she goes to Ruffalo, then she goes to Gerard. Like and then all the men in the brothel. Like there is a significant male presence in every single stage of her journey, and she has to face that final stage that is just like this very stock cardboard cutout of male shittiness.
I think part of it is a little bit of that. I think, and this might be, again, going back to this as a piece of adapted literature and paying homage to the original story, blah, 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 whatever. But like, we have the whole reconnection with Rami. They're getting married. So then she walks out on the marriage to rejoin Christopher Abbott, but then she's only with Christopher Abbott for like, I don't know, like 7.5 minutes. And then that turns, and then going back to Rami. So that was the whole thing where I was just like, all right, I feel like we could have done a better job here. Like it was, I mean, again, I'm picking nits on a movie that I otherwise truly love, but like that is the one thing where I'm like, I think that this could have been a little bit tighter. I think we could have landed the plane a little bit smoother here in this third act.
It's one of those, yeah. I don't know the right way that you would pull the strings to make it better. But I agree that there's probably a way. But I think that
maybe it's Christopher Abbott finds her like in the Paris brothel, and like that's how they rekindle or something like that. Like I think that there is a way to make it tighter and maybe shave like 10 minutes off of this, says the guy who has like a 3.5 hour movie in his top movies of the year. But like I do think that there is like, that's the only where I've seen a lot of criticism of this movie is in the pacing and is in the redundancy, and that's the only point in this movie where I felt that a bit, is just at the very end.
That's fair. It's just I think a lot of the criticism that I've seen about redundancy in this movie is like, I don't know.
It's like, I already saw her nipples. I don't need to see him again.
It's just a matter of if you're talking thematically, it's
you gotta give.
That's the wrong one.
Yeah,
I was like, that's not it.
If you're talking about thematic redundancy, it's like, are you giving that same critique to fucking Barbie? Because there's a whole
is
an hour and a half of Barbie.
I mean, if it's a male writer, you know they are. They're too busy talking about like how Oppenheimer's good.
Hey, there's no nude Barbies in Barbie. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Is that your problem? Is that you were just like white pasty abyss doesn't do anything for you?
No. I need to see some banging.
Yeah.
Cock.
That's why you
does Mark Ruffalo drop dong?
When she says I'm here to see the gynecologist, you cheered so loud. You're like, she has a vagina. That got you so excited.
I want to see the unrated version where we get to see Mark Ruffalo's big old schlong.
The unrated version? This is the most pornographic movie I've ever seen in a theater in my life.
Yeah,
and it might get nominated for
how this got rated R is kind of wild. Like this is borderline.
There's so much sex.
There's a lot of sex, a lot of nudity. That is why the fact that it's running in third for Best Picture is like kind of
insane.
It's like, well, we're between this or a nice Christmas movie with Paul Giamatti for Best Picture. It's like, wait, what are we doing here? Like, what is this?
I think the moral is for any of the filmmakers who listen to this, there are a lot of them. If you your movie will not be rated X or seen as too pornographic if you also include a lot of black and white fisheye shots.
That's it. That's all you gotta do.
Or you just cast Emma Stone in it because she does a very good job at positioning her body in a way that doesn't alert the
Are we gonna
sensors.
have a Pew Pew award between Florence Pew Pews and Emma Stone's Pew Pews?
Oh, it's not even a contest.
Listen.
Pew Pew's getting washed.
hit the button.
Are you just like hitting all of them because you don't know?
All right. That's Poor Things. That's a very effective little reset.
We should copyright that.
You know, Seth MacFarlane.
We should copyright that. We should make that our thing.
One of the things during this episode that I downloaded because I want is the transition music in Hannah Montana where it's like yeah. Ooh, wow, ooh.
We should.
That's gonna work really well.
Yeah.
Well, isn't there one in Drake and Josh?
Yeah, I was gonna say the Drake and Josh transition.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Oh, that's great. Okay, I'm gonna do that now.
Can we do Hug Me, Brother?
Actually, no, wait. Maybe we should not associate ourselves with Drake Bell. Drake Bell, who I saw at a pumpkin patch in Orlando, Florida.
No, what?
Yeah.
You're just now dropping this?
Oh my God. I thought that I dropped that knowledge in the group chat. No, I saw Drake Bell and then I
thought he
was
was
like,
on the run.
No, and I was just like, wait, should I go up and say anything that like ask for a picture or something? I was like, oh wait, no, isn't he like a pedophile?
I don't know if he's a pedophile, but
allegedly
he's on the run.
He's an ephebophile if you want to be that guy who's like, oh, actually, if they've been through puberty, it's a different word.
Yeah.
But bro's into the underage. It was
definitely
ladies.
not. She definitely was not 18. I know that much. And he was with a kid and like FaceTiming somebody, so I didn't want to bother him. But it was 100,000% Drake Bell.
Wait, you said he was with a kid?
Yeah, like a little kid, probably his child.
Oh God.
Yeah. We need another reset after that one.
All right. Thanks for listening to We Bought a Mic.
Sorry, Drake Bell, if I just like doxed you.
We recommend pretty much everything we talked about. Maestro, May, December, American Fiction. Let us know your thoughts.
Movies are good this year. We're fucking back.
This is an incredible year.
I was just talking about it with a friend of the pod at a screener we were at, but it's just like, man, this is easily the best year since 2019. I know a lot of that's due to COVID and shit like that, but like,
hey man,
especially when you think about the movies that we could have had too.
Dune 2.
Like maybe it's good that we don't have Dune 2 and Challengers and other shit happening right now because there might just be like too much happening.
Right. Hey, like I said, it's Wong coming.
Okay.
Wonka is coming.
You know, Ernie, if you do not wear a big old fucking top hat to the point where like people can't, they're
and
sitting behind you, can't see the movie, I'm going to be so pissed off.
Are you going to that screener?
Yeah. If you wear a big top hat and a coat.
You want to come to the Wonka? Come on.
Ride the Wonka.
Do this.
Do I have bad news for you? They go to London, which is a realm.
Oh, no.
Oh, you know what I've been doing? I've been prepping the WBAM categories. I'm doing a best realms.
Oh, okay.
We have to do a best realm.
Man, there's been a lot of good realms this year.
Barbie Land, Los Alamos Laboratory.
Yeah, I was gonna say 1940s America was a good realm.
The Reservation in Oklahoma.
Auschwitz, that's a realm.
Yeah, that movie actually takes place just outside of a realm.
Yeah, God, it's great.
Just
so
like
that's
right next to a
Drive
realm.
a perfect. It's realm free, like just barely, but it is realm free there.
Maybe I'll check it out.
Like right on the horizon, you can hear the screaming of the realm.
It's maybe the most important realm free movie ever made.
All right, thank you so much for listening to We Bought a Mic. Please rate, review, subscribe, like, and comment. Let us know your thoughts. Check out weboughtamic.net and patreon.com/weboughtamic. Shout out to all the Patreons, including Run P, runp.com, Run P app. Check it out. Let the Run P people know when to go pee during all these movies that we talked about if you see them in a theater. If not, you can always just pause it. Still check out the app just to know if you're pausing it at the right spot. You know, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Don't be like me watching Oppenheimer and getting up to pee during what turns out to be like the best scene of the movie.
Sometimes I don't pause things at home because I want to preserve that experience of the cinema.
That's insane.
You go and like take a huge shit for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, what's happening? You're watching like a French movie and you can't understand what they're saying anyways. So
join the Discord and stick around for the last couple episodes of the year with one more Hanks and one more Cruise, and then our big ol' Listomania best of 2023. We're clearing out the paint. We got to do it every year. Best albums, best TV shows, best movies. It's coming. All right. So stick around. We also got The Killer deep dive discussion coming at you in a separate episode. Thanks for listening. We love you. Bye.
Bye.